Welcome in to game number 5 of Chobo Team League week number 4. This match, I just lost my train of thought halfway through that statement. Wow. Anyway, spawning down here in the lower left-hand corner, in the blue color, playing for the team The Killer Pikachus. He needs a victory here to keep his team alive for the week. It is Josh. And spawning across from him, in the lower right-hand corner, in the yellow color, playing for Team Composite with a win, he secures victory for Composite for the week. It is Spritegeist. I really like Spritegeist's name. I always have. I don't have any background info on him. I guess I need to talk to him a little bit more. Anyway, TVZ on this is an ASL Season 3 Shakuras Plateau. This basically only differs from the ladder version in that there's a depot here. Just like in the ladder version, your opponent can't spawn close by ground. So if you're Spritegeist spawning here in the lower right, your opponent can't spawn in the upper right. You can spawn either of the other two positions. As we do see, this is going to be a close by air battle between our two opponents. Looks like Josh, not quite so aware of the subtleties of this map, is going to scout that close by ground position. Going to blissfully find nothing there. So we'll see if he's going to go for a pool first build. It does look like he is going to. Pool first, hatch first doesn't matter too much in this matchup. Going pool first does keep you safer against bunker pressure, which may be a worry of Josh's, but knowing Spritegeist's style as I do, it's not in the cards from him. So this is our silver set number 2. For anybody, again, unaware of CTL operating procedures, this is a best-of-7 series between these two teams, where we'll alternate leagues each game. This all culminates in set number 7, which is a best-of-3 ace match, typically between the two best players on the team. Spritegeist looks like he does want to go for that sort of one-racks gasless expand, doing it a little bit differently than a lot of people would do, going up to 17 supply very quickly and delaying his orbital a little bit. But again, just kind of stylistic choices. Josh, meanwhile, going to go for the 17 spawning pool followed up, or the 15 spawning pool followed up by 15 hatchery, and very quickly getting a couple of Zerglings out, which will help him just deflect the scout, make sure no shenanigans are happening, and all in all, just feel a little bit safer. And we'll see Spritegeist is actually going to make the high ground. If you're going to go for this, and of course you spot your Zerg opponent going for a similarly economic opening, just throw your command center down on the low ground. It'll save you a little bit of time, because after this finishes, he has to float it all the way down to the natural and then morph it into an orbital, or has to morph it into an orbital here and then float it down. It just saves a little bit of time. And you can start mining at least a little bit earlier if it is down at the main. Or down at the natural, excuse me. We do see Spritegeist going to move across the map with 1 SCV and 2 Marines. He may try and put a bunker up here. That's not going to avail him very much, as we do see 2 spines going down very quickly. And a little bit of nice micro there, pulling back the 1 hurt Marine. Spritegeist can't seem to quite decide what he wants to do. There's a couple more Zerglings out now, but this is really just forcing units out of his opponent that he doesn't really want to make. There's the bunker going to try to go down. Queen just needs to target down the SCV. You see the Marines nicely stepping back. He does finally kill that SCV, so that bunker's not going to happen. But he has forced out way more units. We see even 4 more Zerglings in production, the 2 spines as well. Not something that he really wants to be making. I would love to see Sprite just pull back. Instead, he is going to start shooting at these spines, and he's going to lose all 3 of these Marines. So that could have been handled a little bit better by Spritegeist, but not too bad. More and more Queens on the way, going to go up to a total of 3 so far, as soon as this one starts and or finishes. But up to a total of 3. Typical numbers are 4 or 6, as that just allows so much creep spread, and there's really nothing the Terran player can do about it. Overlord back in position. This is kind of a weird position. It floated all the way over the main base into that corner. And we see Sprite trying to transfer SCVs down to his natural, but unfortunately the wall in not kind, so the SCVs stacking up down here, trying so hard to get to that mineral patch, but just unable to get there. And there finally he does stop the Marines, lowers the depot. Looks like these SCVs still just going to chill out. Have a little bit of a break here. Those jetpacks on their back might overheat a little bit. They just need to stay put for a little bit. Josh, meanwhile, throwing down his Roach Warren, which is kind of an interesting choice. Roaches tend to be more involved in counterattacks or in trying to deal with mech compositions. We see Sprite's going for at least heavy bio early on. We'll see if he transitions out of that. But Reactor Tech Lab, just going to be a lot of Marines, at least early on, maybe a handful of Marauders, and those Marauders will help deal with the Roaches if he gets them very happily. So we'll see where both players go from here. Spritegeist is floating quite a few minerals right now, which is kind of interesting to note. But that should be taken care of as soon as these reactors are done. And there we go. Production kicked in. Factory on the way as well. Josh, meanwhile, throwing everything down at his front. He's basically walled in now. With these two spine crawlers in the Evo chambers, it means that he doesn't have to worry too much about Hellions, especially with these two Queens out here. And this just puts him in a great position. Defensively. He can continually drone up and just kind of let his wall tank damage until he can get out those units that he would need to defend. Worker count right now, 35 drones to 32 SCVs, which is kind of interesting. Just look at the number of larvae, though. 13 larvae right now for Josh, just unable to spend those, just hitting those injects constantly. Rather than using them to spread creep is kind of where all those larvae are coming from. Lair on the way. This is pretty early. About 8.5 minutes he started that, so it'll finish up about 9 minutes. So just a little bit early, not too early though. And especially on Circurus, I like that. Going for kind of a 2-base lair allows you to get out something to start and put pressure on your opponent, so that you can take this third that's way the hell up here and tough to defend. Because as Terran, you can hit timings with 3 or 4 siege tanks. We see, of course, Sprite not going for siege tanks, but hypothetically, if he was going for siege tanks, he can cut off the natural in the third base area, just sort of by setting his siege up out here. And that allows just a lot of opportunities for the Terran player to put on aggression. Anyway, Spritegeist is going to be going pure bio, which, again, is really risky at lower levels. We watched it happen in the Bronze game, when Baneling hits just decimate Marines and Marauders, because there's nothing there to start shooting down the Banelings. There's nothing there to tank hits. They just die very, very quickly. Spritegeist adding on his stim pack, and this looks like it is going to be an earlier timing. He is finally adding on that tech lab onto the factory, so these are just delayed tanks. Which is something I'm okay with, but lower level Terran players, stop going bio. You're just going to die to Banelings. Josh, of course, doesn't have a Baneling nest, so I'm not too worried about that. But the infestation pit is on the way, and that puts you in a very similar situation. Fungal can hit your entire army if it's all clumped up. And we see Josh is actually hitting his creep spread really well. Let's check out APMs. 82 for Spritegeist and 63 for Josh. That's actually kind of surprising. I'd expect it to be the other way around, just judging by the way Josh has been able to handle everything so far. But right now, making a lot of Roaches. Roaches trade pretty well against Marines, not well at all against Marauders. Drop is coming out here. 6 Marines and a Marauder headed into the main base of Josh. Doesn't look like this has been spotted, as Josh is actually headed toward mid-map. He's going to clean up these watchtowers and try and get a little bit of map control. In comes the drop from Spritegeist. He should be able to take down quite a few drones before there's anything able to defend. And he'll see what he wants to target down. Sprite not really controlling this, maybe worried about these Roaches in the middle of the map, and now Josh finally pulling back to try and deal with this. The one extractor is down, and that's actually a decent thing to target against Zerg. If you can limit the Zerg's gas production, all of a sudden the scary units that they're going to build, they can't build in as high numbers. But there's the stim. He's going to try and target down the lair. Now a couple of Roaches coming in. He can pick off 2 for free, basically, before the rest of these units get here. Now the rest of the Roaches fly in. He's able to save 2 of the Marines. He does pick off another Roach for his trouble, but we see that didn't do too much damage. 4 workers killed. Not the best drop in the world. But now Sprite looks like he destroyed his bunker and then remade it. And maybe... no, going to head out back to the middle of the map and just get some scouting. Third base nearly done now for Josh back behind this drop. Yes, that happened. The infestation pit is done. Spritegeist is actually going to drop these 2 Marines back behind. I'm not sure these 2 Marines could actually kill the Queen at this point, if it were just the Queen defending, but we do see the Roaches and Zerglings there. This is nice scouting information, though, gathered by the medevac. He sees the infestation pit, and he sees the double depot chamber at the front. Roach is now headed into the main, though, of Josh, and this can do a lot of damage. There's only a handful of Marauders. There's no combat shield on these Marines, and this is very difficult. We do see the Marines and Marauders up on the high ground doing quite a bit of damage, with Josh just powering through the front of Spritegeist with this Roach counterattack. And it looks like this may just overrun the front. All the Marines and Marauders are now dead, and Josh just kind of catching Spritegeist off guard, I think. That's not a dropship. Anyway, so many Marines have gone down. There's one tank up on the high ground. Might be able to hold out at least for a little while. We see 18 workers have got down. Now for Spritegeist, 67 supply to 147. And Josh is just in such a great position. More Roaches now. These are the ones back defending the main now, headed up. And he can basically one-shot the depot if he wants to. This is kind of an awkward engagement. It looks like he just kind of A-moved up the ramp. But he will be able, he takes out the one siege tank on the high ground. He should be able to take out this other one. Maybe. But again, no combat shield on these Marines. Really costly, I think, as they're just able to take another Roach hit or two. And that could have been all the difference. But we do see Sprite just kind of hanging on by the skin of his teeth. There's still 2 Marines and 4 medevacs here. A couple more Marines coming in to try and help. Now more and more units popping up. We do see a drop up here at the 3rd base. Spritegeist trying to make something happen, but the Roaches of Josh going to come up and defend very nicely. Sprite has cleaned up the force in his main, and that drop in the 3rd really didn't do too much. So now still 18 workers killed to 4. Sprite's drops have just been defended well enough, and now forced back on basically 1.5 bases is the main, more or less mined out. And this is a really tough spot for the Terran player. Josh now going to just run these Roaches up. Tank not even sieged right now, and this looks like it's going to be the end for Spritegeist. Siege tank picked off, Marauder picked off, and there we go, up into the natural. So many Roaches still alive. There's 31 by my count. I guess it's a little bit unofficial. Just 3-shotting the barracks now, taking down the reactor, and GG now from Spritegeist. And Josh keeps his team alive. The Killer Pikachus now only trail 3-2, and still very much alive. We'll head into gold set number 2, where the Killer Pikachus will have a chance to pull the series even and force it into an ace match. So don't go anywhere. This is Mera Schematic casting Chobo Team League week number 4.